Today is from Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 20. They came to the other side of the sea, to the region of the Gerasenes. And when he had stepped out of the boat, immediately a man from the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. He lived among the tombs, and no one could restrain him anymore, even with a chain. But he had often been restrained with shackles and chains. But the chains he wrenched apart, and the shackles he broke into pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains he was always howling and bruising himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. And he shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God to not torment me." For he had said to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." He begged him earnestly not to send him out of the region. Now there on the hillside, a great herd of swine were feeding, and the unspoken spirits begged him, "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine, and the herd, numbered about 2,000, stampeded down the steep bank into the sea and were drowned in the sea. The swine heads ran off and told it in the city and in the country, the swine herds. Then people came to see what it was that had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the man. They came to Jesus and saw the man possessed by demons sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, the very man who had had the legion, and they became frightened. Those who had seen what had happened to the man possessed by demons and to the swine reported it. Then they began to beg Jesus to leave their neighborhood. And as he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed by demons begged him that he might be with him. But Jesus refused and said to him, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he has shown you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. This is the word of God for the people of God. Sorry. Our prayer for illumination together. We look to you, O God, and with a deep sigh say, "Let us be opened. May you open our ears and free our tongues and make our speech plain." Oh.
Thank you, Susan. I'm going to sit, or I'm going to stand, or I'm going to do both. I think I'm going to start by standing, and then I might sit down in just a second. A moment of personal privilege. Thank you all for your prayers. Jackie and I had a little bit of a medical run, not at the same time, about 24 hours different, but anyway, she's got to follow me in everything I do. So she did. So we appreciate that. One of the things we're doing today is we're talking a little bit about nurture and how nurture, in fact, what it means to us, how it affects us. And one of the things I do want to say from the get-go, because I'm going to be talking about the congregation. The congregation is my faith family. This congregation that's my faith family, that nurtures me, actually grew out of two congregations that were in physically different spaces for a little bit of time. Resurrection United Methodist Church and Calvary Methodist United Church. United Methodist Church, yeah. The reason I mention that, and I mentioned that that's how we became Elizabeth Street, is part of nurture. If you look it up in the Bible, it actually, the word nurture could never be translated. It's not a word that the Greeks and Latins and such knew what to do with. So it became teaching for the most part. And one of the reasons that the blend between Calvary and Resurrection Now Elizabeth Street is so wonderful, because not only does my faith family, you all, the congregation, which is a merger of both, not only do they nurture me and many others, they teach me. And the cool thing is, the first teaching occurred basically when we merged, because Resurrection was planning to be reconciling, but hadn't gotten there. We had started through the steps. Calvary was one of the first reconciling church in North Carolina, I believe. Is that correct, Calvary people? Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So as he's saying yes, he's acknowledging that. So guess what? What did that mean? That mean that we who were coming from Resurrection were actually learning something as we merged together with the Calvary team. And now, of course, our congregation, the Faith Family. The way it happened for me is I was born and raised Southern Baptist. And I had driven by Resurrection for 30 years, and I had just had an accident in my Jeep Wrangler, and it was totaled, and it was June, and I thought, you know what, I've gone by this church forever. I think I'm going to walk down there and see what it is. Plus, I didn't know the first thing about a Methodist, and so I walked to the church, because it's like, what, a quarter of a mile, Jackie, if that. And Jackie, get this, how God likes to play with us. I am on one side of Resurrection, and Jackie's house, just about the same amount apart. But I didn't know Jackie at this time. So I'm walking to the church, and I walk in through the parking lot. The very first person I see is Ron Cromartie. Those of you who know Ron know that he's quite the guy. And I thought, this is cool. He was very nice. I walk in the front door with Ron. I'm almost crying about this one. And the very second person I met was John Mayfield. And talk about nurture. John Mayfield and Ron can nurture you whether you want it or not. And I thought, oh man, this is so cool. And so then John says he's like showing me where to go and sit and such. And I sat down by Bill Witt. There might be folks in here that know Bill Witt. For those of you who don't, talk about God being so cool again and nurturing. Bill Witt, I think, pastored Baptist churches, Methodist churches, and he knew quite a lot about Catholic as well. A brilliant man. So talking again about nurture and teaching and such, I'm sitting there, I have no clue what's going to be going on. Fortunately, we have the bulletin, but it's very, very, very different than what I grew up with in the Southern Baptist Church. And I'm not saying that was bad at all, and I'm really grateful for it, because if I didn't get saved that night when I was 11 years old, I was going to burn and go to hell. So I'm really glad I went ahead and got saved and got baptized in the river, and that was all done when I was 11. So here I am in this Methodist church 40, 50 years later, I don't even know how many, by Bill Witt, and they're going through the bulletin. And I thought, this is so cool. The prayers, not only the prayers like someone from the pulpit giving them, but the prayers that we all, the congregation, was sharing with each other. And if you've been in church your whole life and you're used to that, I guess it's not a big deal. But for me, it was really cool. It's just like, wow. And so one of the other things that was very important to me was how they felt about gay people. And after this beautiful service, I decided I would go ahead and come again the next Sunday. And I did. I went, loved it. So many people came up to me, right, Susan? She might look a little weird, but we'll come up to her anyway. They came up to me, welcomed me warmly. And I said to the pastor after the service, we were talking, and I said, you know, I have lived my entire life born and raised with Christianity, a believer, don't have any doubt about that. And if I'm a lesbian, I don't think that God's going to care. I think he's probably got more important things to deal with. And I do have to know, though, because my heart had been broken many times. And when I walked into that church, this congregation held me, and I felt it from the get-go. I didn't know them. I hadn't been there. Didn't know what Methodist was. Didn't know any of that. But I knew I felt something in my heart right away. Maybe I saw Sister Esther. I'm not sure what it was, but I said to the pastor afterwards, Pastor, I got a question for you. How many people in this congregation, if I said I was queer, how many people would have a problem with that? He looked at me and he said, Jerry, maybe 5%, but I doubt it. 95% or more, maybe, could care less. As I said, resurrection was on its way to being reconciling. And they didn't have a lot of out people that I recall, Susan, during that time necessarily. It was just something that they felt they needed to do. I couldn't have my heart broken again. I couldn't fall in love with you guys like I am. And then all of a sudden, you find out she's lesbian. That would just tear me apart. So, I was nurtured from the get-go. It did not matter whether it was United Methodist Church. It did not matter whether I was white. People were black. People were Asian. People were Hispanic. People were German. People were Indian. It mattered not at all. And if that's pretty much enough, Pastor, I never typed it up or anything, so let me know if we need... Oh, okay, I'm about done, but I don't want to go too far. I just want to say, and to the people on Zoom as well, if you're in here or if you're listening and if you're wondering if this is where you need to be, I can assure you that you will feel nurtured. And if you don't, come see me. We'll talk about it. But we do, specifically, last thing real quick, and Gary will probably talk about this. Two of the main things that we do as a nurture here is visitation and prayer. Prayer starts and stops everything we do. Because if we get out of that driver's seat, if we start worrying about what our orientation is, if we start worrying about what our political status is and all that, we're just going to take time away from God. Don't do it. Come to church, open your heart and your arms. This church right here will hold you, will love you, and they don't have to be on the nurture team. They nurture all day, every day, and we love you. So come and see us if that's the thing. And folks on Zoom, we love you too, so don't think we don't. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, so if you don't know who I am, I'm Gary Corsi O'Connor. I'm fairly new to Elizabeth Street. Michael and I started last fall, my husband and I. So couple of things about the visitation and prayer ministry we have here at Elizabeth Street. I was asked to be a part of this ministry way back in the concept from Pastor Charles, and I was honored to be asked. I've been doing visitation and prayer ministry for over 8 years, not here at Elizabeth Street. I'm new. This team just started in January. But I would like to say a couple of things. The visitation and prayer teams keep those who are not able to attend church in person. It gives them a personal connection with the church members, and also that the church has not forgotten about them. That is a big thing when people are not able to attend in person anymore, that they've been forgotten. And it goes a long way in visitation and along with our prayer ministry. Also, the gift I received when we go to visit people, I'm usually teamed up with Miss Jackie or Miss April, is immeasurable. We know that they enjoy the visit and they're glad to see us, but it is immeasurable to me and to those on the team what we get back in turn. It just lifts your spirit. And what we are about is we are doing the mission of Christ by showing our love to those members in Elizabeth Street.
I have to ask for your indulgence for me to come up because I can't hold a microphone, hold a paper, and talk at the same time. As most of you do know, I spent 4 nights in the hospital recently, and as Louise can attest, it gets you in the middle of the night. You lay there and you think about all the things in your life. And for me, I thought about a time in my life when I was also laying in bed and confined to bed. And I felt as helpless as I did in the hospital. Now, as a cradle Methodist, I had grown up seeing church members care for one another. It's what makes us family, what Jerry was talking about. Now, my mama was an amazing woman. She taught Sunday school. She led Girl Scouts. She did all the things, but cooking was not her forte, so I come by it naturally. But she made a mean chicken salad, and that takes a lot of work. If you know, when you cook it from the beginning instead of pick up a rotisserie chicken at the Harris Teeter, it takes a while. And she made it for everybody. If it was a funeral, I'll bring the chicken salad. If it was a new baby, I'll bring the chicken salad. If it was somebody that just needed a meal, I got you, chicken salad. So I was used to seeing people help one another in a church family. But until it happens to you and you're the one that needs the help, you don't really realize what it means to have people nurture you. When I was 27, I was pregnant with my first child. I went to Parkwood United Methodist Church, where I met April Travis, who I've known for 40 years, and because my baby will be turning 40 from this story. And about 30 weeks into my pregnancy, I had a prenatal visit, and much to my surprise, I found out that I was preeclamptic. And for those of you that don't know, it's like a pregnancy-induced high blood pressure, and you have some kidney dysfunction. And the treatment for it is to go home and lay in bed until the baby comes. And that meant I couldn't close out my office. I couldn't pass go. I couldn't collect $200. I went home and went straight to bed. And going to bed meant laying on your left side. The only time I could not lay on my left side was if I was eating or taking a shower, the bathroom, or my doctor's appointment. So I had 10 weeks stretching in front of me, laying in bed on my left side and facing the wall while my husband worked all day. So it was a pretty tough stretch to hit. But my church family, they had me. They immediately just took over the cooking for us. And they brought us a plethora of different foods, all good foods for pregnant ladies. And even on Valentine's Day, they fixed us a lady named Betty Lewis fixed us 2 Cornish hens and a lovely meal, and we had a little heart-shaped cake for dessert. So that was important to us, and it helped us, but even more important than that was the phone calls I started getting. Back then, it was all about the landline, and at least there was a phone by the bed. So I got calls every day. I got encouragement every day. I got cards and letters. I got just so much love from that congregation. I felt loved. I felt lifted. I felt remembered, and I certainly felt well-fed. And that was all because of the people in that church. And though that happened 40 years ago, it's remained a vivid reminder of the power of church family. The efforts of my fellow congregants got me through those days. Nurture is the correct name for this type of ministry, as it fed me and my husband both literally and figuratively. And my new baby. I'm grateful to serve on the Nurture Committee in this church, and I hope in some small way to be able to continue this same kind of ministry that embraced me. Thank you so much, and thank you for being a part of Nurture, to those committee members, and then for all of you who perform acts of nurture, including Janet, who keeps us fed, and Gary, who keeps us visited, and Pastor, who reaches out to us and visits us in the hospital. It's such a vital part of being part of a church family. She got to steal my spotlight.
Just a little quick update. Can you hear me?
Jerry wants to remember the directory. If you would please, there was a copy, thanks. There was a copy of the directory. There was a copy of the directory in the back that you could update, and there's also a directory online. So if you need help to get to the app online, we can help you with that. But we want to know, we want to be able to find you. We want to be able to drop a card in the mail or reach out. So make sure that you identify yourself in our directory. So let's sing the hymn of response for the healing of the nation, which is number 428 in your